Alright, I have the equation of a circle, and I can tell it because it's got x squared and y squared equal amounts. No other squares or cubes or higher powers or square roots or absolute value or something like that, so this is going to be a circle. Now, I know that half of this is telling me what the center is going to be from my last video, so I know that it's got to be something like x half of minus 4 is minus 2. It's got to look something like that. That's got to be in the equation. So looking at these two, I know that I got to have that. And looking at these two, I know that it's got to be y minus 3, half of that number, squared. Now, I have to use my thinking cap. If this was multiplied out, I would get x squared minus 4x plus 4. If this was multiplied out, I'd get y squared minus 6y plus 9. Okay? That multiplied out. Check my last video on going from a circle with a different center and moving it. So this has to be in this. But it's plus 3. Well, 4 and 9 is 13, but I got to have just 3. So there must be a minus 10 in this to make this equation the same as that. Okay? So these constants now make a plus 3. And I could write that as, okay, I got 4 plus 9 plus something equals 3. And that something was, let's see, was the negative of the radius squared, because if we move it over, that would be the radius squared if you could look back at it. So we get this 10. You could solve this. That would be 13. Subtract 13 from 3. 13 plus the negative of the radius squared equals 3. Subtract 13, we get negative r squared is negative 13r, negative 10. R squared equals 10. R, the radius equals the square root of 10, which is what it was. So now, to finish getting this back into this form, we just take these three things and add them together. Okay, we got this. We put this negative 10 on the other side, and we get equals 10. Add this number to both sides, and those cancel, and this, all of that is that. All of that is that, and this 10 goes over here and tells me the radius squared is 10. I'm going to do this again with another one just to see. Now, this one, we won't know what it is because it's not the same as the one before. So I'm going to write x squared plus y squared plus 10x minus, so let's put 7y plus 2 equals 0. Okay. I have no idea. Well, I do have somewhat of an idea of what the center radius is, but let's figure out what it is. So, if I got x squared and 10x, that means it's got to be x plus 5 squared, because half of 10 is 5. Plus, it's got to be y, and half of 7 is 7 halves. And then there's got to be some number that we add in here to whatever this is to come up with 2 equals 0. So this is the negative of the r squared, because it's over here, it's r squared. So let's just figure out what that has to be. This multiplied out is x squared plus 10x plus 25. And I'm just thinking in my head, x plus 5 times x plus 5, x times x times 5, x, 5 times x, and 5 times 5. I just did all that in my head. And this multiplied out is going to be y squared minus 7y, and that it's, so it's 2 of those and that squared. 2 of those, 2 7.5s, 2 3.5s is 7, and then that squared is 49/4 plus 49/4. Go ahead and take your time to multiply that out, slowly foiling out if you're having trouble with seeing how I got that. Plus a negative r squared is 0. And so now our original equation had the 10x, the negative 7y, and this number with this number and this number combined is 2. So I have 25 plus 49/4 plus a negative r squared has to be 2. So now let's take these over to this side so that we can solve for the r squared. Actually, let's take the r squared over, make it positive, and bring the 2 over. So we'll have 25 plus 49/4 plus 2, or minus 2, subtract 2 from both sides, equals, and add r squared to both sides, r squared. And now we've got 49/4, that's 10, 11, 12 1/4. And if I take 2 from that, I get 10 1/4, added to 25, that's 35 1/4 is r squared, and so the radius would be the square root of 35 1/4. And you might be able to reduce that, simplify it. Square root of 36 is 6, and so this is just barely less than 6. So if I had asked you to graph this, it would have a center that was at -5 and up 3.5 and a radius of just under 6. So if I went over 6, that would be about there. If I went over 6, that would be about there. If I went down 6 from, what would you have here? 3.5. So down 2.5 and up 3.5 to 9.5, and our circle would be roughly there. Okay? Alright, so I've done a couple now of going back from the standard form, from the general form to the standard form. General form to the standard form.